there, I'm Irk and this is my channel, Get Irk. Can Fintech get back up off the mat, or have investors knocked its block off? In this episode, we're going to revisit the small business payment processor, Square, which has changed its name to Block, with the ticker symbol SQ. In this video update, I'm going to give you a buying plan of what I would do if I didn't currently hold shares in Block, and then I'll go over my own investment, where it's come from, and where I plan to take it in the future. I'll also leave the original video about Block at the end of this video in case you want to learn more about the company and have a deeper dive into its fundamentals. My last video about Block was at the beginning of January, and as you can see, it really sold off going throughout 2022. From its all-time high in 2021, around $290, to its low in October of 2022, Block sold off 79.22%. However, it did just report good earnings in November, so has it established a bottom, and is it safe to buy Block? So what I like to do when I've got a stock that's sold off this dramatically is draw a Fibonacci retracement from its all-time high to its recent bottom to see if we can find levels of resistance it might encounter on the way up. But as you can see, the nearest level of resistance isn't until $107.48, and Block is currently in the 60s. So what I do here is I draw Fibonacci retracements from recent lows to recent highs to develop more levels of support where it might find levels of support instead of resistance. So on its way up, if it hits a level of resistance and retreats, these are levels where you could buy because it might find support there. In fact, when you look at this Fibonacci retracement, you can see that around the 78.6% retracement, it's actually found resistance after it reported good earnings and then tried to pop but failed. Since Block is actually near its all-time low for 2022, I would start investing in it pretty soon, probably using the low of this day as my initial buy, somewhere around $57.66. However, because the market has been volatile and we have no idea where we're going when it comes to the economic concerns next year, I wouldn't use my 50% allocation that I typically do. I'd actually start with a 25% allocation and then save the remaining 75% to make buys later. So after our initial buy, I'd look towards the low of this day here, and I'd actually use the close, somewhere around $51.45. And it's important to remember that whenever I show buying levels in a video, that you don't buy exactly to the penny of where there might be support. If you want to be more aggressive, you'd actually buy above that support. There are many other investors and traders who are watching these levels too, and they might get in early, which means that a stock could find support much higher than a previous level of support. After this buy, you can see our Fibonacci retracement has given us another level at $45.90, so I might actually make my next buy somewhere around there. And after that, we'd have to pull out on the chart to find additional levels. And so for this, I'd switch to the weekly view so that we could get a better idea of where Block may have found support in the past. And you can see already that where it's found support recently lines up very well with where it's found support in the past. So when we go back further, we want to see other levels. And you can see the Fibonacci retracement at around $46 has found support here on these weeks as well. Moving further down, you can see that we have these 2 weeks from the pandemic. And what I would do is use the open of this week at $38.47 as my next buy. Following that with the low of the pandemic on this week here, somewhere around $32.33. At this point, we'd have a 65% allocation in Block, our initial buy and the subsequent buys, which means we would have 35% cash left over for additional buys. New investors and traders to the market might think it's pretty ridiculous that I would even think Block could sell off lower than its pandemic low, because that means it would have sold off from a high around $290 to a low of $32 and then break through that low. But I've learned over the years never to trust a bottom. You never know exactly how low a stock can go. No matter how improbable something happens, nothing in the investing world is impossible. So keeping that rule in mind, I always plan for any eventuality, no matter how improbable it might be. So here we'd move below $32.33, and you can see in the past the low of this week here at $27.21 might provide support. After that, I would shoot for the low of this week here. Even though there was a lot of support up here, I don't want to buy too close to my last buy, so $24.22 would be my next target. This would give us an 85% allocation in block, and that's the way I'd want it. I'd save that 15% cash in case the unheard of happens and block really sells off. If block never broke through our low-end target, I'd save that 15% allocation to use in a different position sometime in the future. From here, let's take a look at my own position in block and where it's come from since our last update. My last update was on January 4th of 2022, and I had just made a purchase at $152, which raised my per share cost up to negative $107.20. A negative per share cost means that I've already removed all of the capital out of the position in addition to $107.20 per share of the position that I still hold. However, when Russia invaded Ukraine, block seriously sold off and gave me buying opportunities at much lower levels. As you can see, I made 4 individual buys on block sell-off. One on January 21st at $122.90, another on February 7th at $102.65, another on February 23rd at $92.85, and during this sell-off, my last buy was on February 24th at $83, and the combined buys raised my per share cost 22.09%, leaving me with a negative $83.09 per share. And it was at this point that block bottomed and ended up bouncing, so it was time to let it go and see where the price action would take us from here. After block rallied and made a new high here around $149, it started to sell off again. And you can see that I thought the bottom might hold, so on May 9th I made another buy right near where it bottomed in February at $83.50, except that bottom broke and it fell through. On May 11th I made my next buy at $70.75, and again this bottom didn't hold, even though block did bounce briefly after that particular point. In June the market sold off once more, so I bought block at $61.75, and the total of these 3 buys raised my per share cost up another 14.69%, leaving me where I am right now at $71.45 a share. Block wasn't done selling off at that point, and it didn't actually find its bottom in 2022 until much later in October, where it hit a bottom at $51.45. Shortly before block reported its earnings in November, you can see that it actually broke through that $51.45 low, making a new low at $51.34. Initially, I hadn't planned to add more to block until it broke through $50. However, after it had that decent earnings report, I've decided to raise my next buy target up to $51.40. Additionally, my next sell target is $74.70, which is lower than this key point of resistance that you see here at $76.71. If you enjoyed this video, please hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.